Let's come back home. September 21st is the D-Day as Edo people go to the polls to choose who will succeed incumbent governor, His Excellency Godwin Nogegase Obaseki. As is always the case in an election, different political parties present their candidates, and the onus is on the electorate to decide who becomes the next governor. As in the case of Edo State, that's going to happen on the 21st of September. The All Progressives Congress, talking about the APC, has as its candidate Senator Monday Okpebholo, also known as Akbakomiza, with the running mate being Right Honorable Dennis Idahosa. What are the pedigrees of these individuals? What are their experiences? What is their capacity to lead Edo State at this time? What are the issues dominating conversation as far as Edo State governorship election is concerned? What are the perspectives and views of the APC as it relates to impact of governance and how it will affect the Edo State governorship election? These and many more questions we'll be asking today. And our guest in the studio is a former two-time commissioner in Edo State, Energy and Water Resources, and Commissioner for Education. I'd like to thank very specially Dr. Washington Osifo, Esquire. Many thanks for joining us on the program.
Thank you, sir, for having me. Good morning, Nigerians. Good morning, Edo people.
And just to add that Dr. Washington Osifo is also a spokesman of Senator Monday Okpebholo. Many thanks again for coming on the show.
Thanks for having me.
Okay, without wasting time, the election is fast approaching. The campaign suffered a temporary setback with the hashtag End Bad Governance protest. But I'm sure that parties are putting their acts together to once again go on a full throttle with the campaigns to conscientize, educate, sensitize Edo people as far as this election is concerned. What's your take along those lines?
Well, first I want to commend the protesters. It's worthy of note, a voice. If you must build a system, at some point you must have those who will talk, not on the basis of hatred, but on the basis of reminding leaders of our states, leaders of our countries, there are certain directions they think we should go. If they think they are not going to that direction properly, on the basis of interaction, the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria recognizes the fact that it is the right of our people to protest, to draw the attention of government to specific details of things they think should be done in a particular manner. And I also want to commend Mr. President, having come out to also address the people, and he said in his own words, I've heard you loud and clear. And I'm sure, like he has always done, he's in the backstage now, trying to find solutions to remedy these problems. I also want to add that the state government, Nigeria is a federating nation. And you cannot talk about the economy of Nigeria without talking about the economy of the states. As it were, the total economy of Nigeria is made up of the total economy of the state, the federating state, including the FCT. So the subnationals, they largely occupy the governance space of Nigeria. Until the states do well economically, Nigeria cannot do well. So when you hear that America is prosperous, America is doing well, it is, although it is reported in Washington, it is not Washington that is doing well. It is the federating states of the United States of America. That's what makes it a nation. So it is the totality of the well-being or the economic well-being of a state that is called the economy of a nation. An economy of a nation will suffer largely when you see the economy of states are not doing well. For instance, in Edo, just look at it. One thing I know about you, Sonny, at the risk of trying to drag you into all of this, is that there's no way you will not always be dragging, because you are the eyes and the ears and the mouthpiece of the people. When I mean you, I'm not talking about the first person you, I'm talking about the second person, which is the station you represent and the institution you work for. Not just ITV per se, I'm talking about the media. That is your call, and all. That's what your area of specialization. I think as interrogative journalists, I think there are certain things, and this is also your state, this is the good thing about it. There are certain permutations you had for this state 8 years ago, particularly at the dawn or duct of Comrade Adams Ali Oshomole's government. And as thank God, congratulations on your PhD anyways. Sure. What it means is that you are a researcher. You know, to be a PhD holder, you are a researcher. And I'm sure all the time you are interrogating issues politically. What is happening here? Come. I am sure you have interrogated 8 years of Comrade Adams Ali Oshomole governance for Edo State to the 8 years that is, this one is winding down now. He has done 7 years and 9 months. He's winding down. But I'm sure when we campaigned 8 years ago, before when we brought him in 2016, one thing we campaigned with is continuity. When a government has done well, there is what they call self-assessment. In doing that self-assessment, I can tell you that Godwin Obaseki, the governor of Edo State, very just now, together with his candidate, you know, Aswan Ighodalo, knows that Godwin failed woefully. And I tell you this. Now, when I see the signposts in Benin and all over Edo State, what is visible is the language that they advertise. Aswe, Ighodalo. And what comes calling to the mind, that attacks the mind, is what is it going to do? What is it going to do? And that is where you struggle to find answers to that question, because it is not even explained. Now, I thought, like we did, a proud man who knows that he has done well as a governor representing the people, and someone else is coming to fly on his horse, then the irreducible minimum for that man to do is to be proud, first, to associate with his candidate, and secondly, to proudly take the candidate hands to everywhere to say, I have done well. Please help me to pass this baton. Not to do it behind the kitchen and pretend as if there's a lacuna between you and your candidate. And this candidate is so ashamed to even talk about what he has done.
Did he tell you that? Did the candidate tell you that?
No. You see, first, that's why I started while trying to lay a proper foundation. Okay. I tried to say, at the risk of sounding immodest, and trying to drag you in. And as a PhD holder,
drag me into
that's what I'm saying. No. But I needed to also let you know that yes, you sit here as a moderator, but the truth is that there are some moments when you are there alone with your family in your room, and you ask yourself this question: what is this really all about? You know. And as a researcher, I just needed to put that in. As a PhD holder and a researcher, something taps your mind. And you are asking these basic questions. In any case, before you formulate any question arising from your program you're handling today, there is something behind your mind that agitates you to bring the question to the fore. It is not that you don't know the answer. Sometimes you just need somebody to speak to those issues, you know, in ways that it will not be said that it is only Duke or ITV that is saying it. And that is why you say, these are not my words, and you allow the other person to say it. And that's what I'm saying here. Okay. And I am saying that this governor, whose tenure is winding down now, you know, is not proud of his achievement, because it is either so minimal, it's not there at all. And the candidate he has chosen to promote, also knowing that this governor failed woefully, he's also not proud to associate himself with the government.
All right. Now, that's your assessment of the present government.
That's the assessment of most persons, including Governor Obaseki.
You know, that's subjective. That's okay. But look at it. What is Senator Monday Okpebholo bringing to the table in terms of vision, in terms of agenda, in terms of a manifesto that will drive the governors of Edo State to blot out what you have described as a failure on the part of the present administration? What is Senator Monday Okpebholo going to do differently?
Now, I listened to a program where Senator Monday Okpebholo, our candidate, you know, he was addressing the youth. And in that address, he did mention that as a governor, he wouldn't need a manifesto to fix our schools, dilapidated schools. As a governor, he wouldn't need a manifesto to recognize that the roads are not there, therefore you need to fix them. As a governor, he wouldn't need to know that there's poverty, gross poverty in the land, therefore you need to empower financially our agricultural, those are people who are into agriculture and even trading. to galvanize, a borough for them where their business will thrive and life will feel better and the economy of the state will prosper. As a governor, he doesn't need anybody, he wouldn't need a manifesto to say that the health sector lacks basic attention and needs to be given to the people. These are social investment. Now, as a governor, he doesn't need to be told that you need a good relationship with the royal fathers in the states for you to have harmonious relationship with them, to govern well and develop and listen to them. Because if you are not in tune with them, you think that they don't have anything to offer. The reality is that they will stay aloof and watch you make these errors, and you think that you are doing best. It will take you while leaving office or you have left for you to realize that you have failed woefully, like Obaseki has done now. Now, that's what he said. And now, what is government? It is about having been voted for. You run with the votes of the state. When I mean the votes of the state, I'm not talking about casting votes now. I'm talking about the financial, well-being of the state. You run with it to use it to identify critical sectors of the state for the purpose of developing it to bring greater good and greater joy to a number of persons. And which are these areas that we talk about? We talk about education. It's critical to the well-being of a people. You talk about health sector. It's another thing that is critical to the well-being of the people. You talk about infrastructural development, which largely involves the roads. You talk about cultivating our farms, our land, arable farms that are left fallow and nothing is happening. Nothing is happening then today, thereby making it visible for the hunger, palpable hunger that is visible in the state and, of course, in the country. When you look at it, if a nation or a society is healthy, it's built around or is weaved around these four key areas. First, security will come. When people talk about security, security is not the first in the chain of governance.
Okay. Security
is at the bottom. Because if you are able to address the issue of education, you are able to address the issue of health, you are able to address infrastructural development, huge investment in infrastructural development, you are able to address food security, then every other thing in the society would have been secure, because it will de-escalate the tension. If a system is you de-escalate the tension in the system, and there is plenty to go around, it will discourage the need to invest in crime and criminality. So it is the function of the crime and criminality arising from the lack of this investment in social sector that leads to
So if I get you correctly, Dr. Washington Sausifo, you're saying, as we speak, the Senator Monday Okpebholo Campaign Organization, the APC Campaign Organization, does not have a plan, does not have a manifesto to drive governance.
I don't want you.
I'm asking a question.
No, excuse me.
Okay.
I don't want you to progress in error. Okay. That's why I needed to tell you, don't even ask
because you said you listened to him somewhere and he said he doesn't need a manifesto to drive. So
listen to me. Listen.
Yes.
You see, when you come on air, I know the power of the media.
Okay.
That is why when I come, I try to take advantage of it to correct some misinterpretation or misinformation of a statement made by a particular person, in this case, our candidate, by these PDP agents who largely have nothing to offer because they have not offered anything in this past 8 years. In any case, let me say sorry to PDP, because when I mean PDP, I am not talking about the real abolishing PDP. No. What we used to know was a contest of wits in this state, where you see during the days of Danobi, he will chastise in good content the government of Colonel Adams Ali Oshomole. And I tell you, Colonel Adams Ali Oshomole, the then governor of Edo State, did well. Today is on record. It is largely because there was critical, role played by the then leader of PDP, who was the then state chairman of PDP, who helped to whip government into line. That is the responsibility of an opposition party. Now, but in this case today, where you have a governor, and I also want to thank Comrade Adams Ali Oshomole, who knew that the reason why he did well was because he had a man from the opposite party who was always singing to his ears. But it is not that song, so to speak, that made him to deliver on good governance. It was largely because he had the conscience, good conscience, to listen and act. This is where Comrade This is where Okpebholo comes in. Now, I have always said it, and I've said it here, in your stations and sister stations all over Nigeria, and in fact the world, that when there's contest between conscience and intelligence, and you have to choose one, it will not make sense to choose intelligence. Especially when the intelligence can be wrongly deployed. When you have a man you persuade, who is so persuasive in language, but you have an intelligence that can be skewed to defraud the people, the greatest disservice the citizens can do to a country or a state is to deliver the position of that state in the hands and pocket of that person. A conscienceless person will not care whether you eat. A conscienceless person will not care whether your roads are motorable. Roads that are not motorable, they are the easiest way to take the souls and spirit of the people. A conscienceless person will not even know whether you have good schools. A conscienceless person does not connect the education of a child today to the future of the state or country tomorrow. When you have them in the saddle of power or space of power, it is the greatest disservice, I repeat, that you can do to yourself, to the generation you belong to, and your generation yet unborn. Because 8 years that is wasted, you can't get it again. You can only try to fix it. Just imagine that where Comrade Saliu Oshomole left it, if when Governor Godwin Obaseki came, and on the mantra of which we campaigned seriously for him and he won, which is continuity, and it continued, Ring Road, the heart of Benin, wouldn't have been what it is today. Anytime I pass through Ring Road, I say, what a shame. Look at the potholes in the heart of Benin. And how do you, it's contradictory to think that you were wooing the investors to come to Benin, including going to China, who very many of them are in East Africa roasting maize today. And you see that they are champions of development. You brought them to a place called Gelegele, and you gave them a jolly boat ride, you know, in that murky waters of Gelegele, in the pretext that you were going to develop that sector. Since then, he abandoned it. What about the industrial hub in down Saple Road? That he also brought the then Vice President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, Yemi Osinbajo, to commission. They were fanfare, they were everything. Even the Allow Without Talk show, which Aswe Igodaro, the so-called intelligent man, said he admitted by his own self-confession that he has always been part of it, and he developed it and he did X, Y, Z. So when I am sitting and I'm asking myself, how can a man, a business partner, an economist, you know, so to speak, a self-styled economist, so to speak, you know, a capitalist, whose bane is to take advantage of doing business. If you are doing business for the prosperity of the state, I can understand. But if you are doing business for the prosperity of your pockets and for your family and for your friends, and you siphon our funds back to Lagos and make Edo people, those who own the wealth, you make them men hewers of food and fetchers of water in our land, and we have become poorer. Edo people, we have become poorer, and we have become starved, you know, as a people. Our society is starved, our environment is starved. There's hunger, there's starvation, it has degenerated. As a former commissioner for education, sometimes I go through, I mean, when I'm going, just taking a ride. You see, nothing disturbs a man than seeing your projects, the projects you labored for. When they say, may the labor of our heroes past not be in vain. If they are gone, okay, they can't see it. But if they can see it, they'll be turning in their graves. But when you are here and you see what you labor for, your own child, very before you, is destroying it, it can be so painful.
Now, if you say Senator Mond Okpebholo has promised to live up to the expectations of the people by looking at some of these thematic areas that you highlighted, without necessarily using a manifesto, would it be correct to say that he probably would not need a budget to be able to drive the governance of Edo State?
No, Sonny, you are still not getting the...
Now, I'm asking you a question.
No. Before you ask me the question, you must understand what I'm saying.
Okay.
So that we can make progress.
Okay.
What I am saying is that the fact that he said that he wouldn't need a manifesto to be reminded that his immediate environment is bad in areas of roads, education, that doesn't mean that a manifesto does not exist.
So does he have a manifesto?
what are we discussing? What is, in fact, in any case,
it's a question.
No, excuse me. Yes, yes. When I say yes, the party has and he has.
Okay.
Let's de-escalate this big language that you call manifesto. What is the manifesto? You can't draw a manifesto without identifying the problems.
Okay.
The simple definition for the purpose of this discussion and for the listener is that a manifesto will be solutions to problems identified. Okay. And which are the problems? I've just told you that when you are thinking of governance, you are thinking of how to deploy the scarce resources of the state for the purposes of bringing joy to the people through infrastructure development, and we have just mentioned them. Okay. Now, and I am saying, he was saying that although it exists, but you don't need to look at it to know that what led to the generation of this manifesto is simply because we have identified that we suffer huge deprivation in these XYZ areas. And now also, let us even attempt to put both of them on before us. When I mean both of them, I mean for the purpose of the debate, you know, it's always, although there are three political parties, major political parties, there are several political parties, but there are three major political parties asking for our votes. Now, let's put, for the purpose of this man, Okpebholo, being the child, the political child, being sponsored by Governor Godwin Obaseki, let's compare him now with my candidate, the candidate of the All Progressives Congress, Senator Monday Okpebholo. It will be taking another huge risk. Let me also say this. The purpose of governance and producing leadership is to promote one of us who has been with us, who understands what our pains, he has felt the pains, he has not only sympathized in the areas of the pains, he has also empathized by reason of what he has done to ensure that the critical situations are salvaged to the best of his ability at certain levels. Now, you must be able to interrogate a man's yesterday before you can know why he is where he is today, and be on the basis of interrogation, be able to postulate that in the events that this person gets to tomorrow, these are likely what this person will do. It is on that basis, on that note, that I said, let's even try to extract both of them on the basis of their relationship with their communities. Because when you talk about community policing, the understanding is that you know your people and your people know you. And when there's a stranger in their midst, it is very easy to sort that person out.
Do people know Senator Okpebholo?
Of course. Have you not heard that charity, they say, begins at home? You think it is child's play. You have heard. As a child growing up, let those lessons that we learned as children not be lost to
what are his pedigree?
Now, I tell you, as a man, just like you and I, most of us in policy, we have not even done what he did. As a man, just like you and I. Now, this man was not governor. He was not going to aspire to be governor. He was just only Monday Okpebholo, not knowing what lies ahead of him. But the only thing he had was that he had air in his lungs and a good conscience. And on the basis of that good conscience, living amongst his people as a poor boy, and also a little later elevated to a little comfortable position, he began to see to the needs of developing his people and see that what he also suffered, you know, it is the prayer of a responsible father or responsible mother that what I suffer, may my children not suffer it. And therefore, having been elevated to that position, you know, of a citizen that is living a little better than others, he thought that it was necessary for that community where he comes from, because charity, again, they say, begins at home. Then he began to develop them. In the days past, in the weeks past, and months past, and years past, when I see and I do where I come from, when I see a community where I come from, even though I try to also do my best within what I can do, you know, but I began to interrogate a man from hinterland who I hear and I see doing a lot of things for his people. And as a man who is also committed to, you know, helping the people, I admired him from a distance without even knowing. I never met him. I knew from facts And thank God you are from that part of this state, which is that Central District. I knew for a fact that it is difficult to get water in that climate. I schooled there. I knew for a fact the city or the environment that I left. You also schooled there. The environment that we left, a bubbling environment where you had, good security and all of that. Very friendly, warm and wonderful Eastern people. At the end of the day, what I was now hearing after I left that school was that there were no roads, that degenerated, no water, security issue became a problem. As I was saying, when there's hunger on the land, what is instinctual in human being is survival. They will do everything and everything to survive. And when the government abandons its responsibility of providing security for the people, having lashed hunger, serious hunger upon them, and they are responding to that hunger because they want to survive, then they will do all manners of things. An individual, through what they call a science security network, came to the rescue. The facts are there. I saw the donations, and I also saw him where he donated several buses, where he donated several vehicles. I saw his feeding program. I saw his sponsor those who could not go to school. He sponsored their educational, their education by giving them scholarship and all that. I saw he do government job, part of Obasanjo's job, and he became the governor of the Eastern land because he was providing for the Eastern people, giving them education, building schools. In fact, he was also investing, because if you want to renew the mind of a man, you must provide hope. And that hope can be best secured through a religion. And he did a lot in that direction by building churches, such that you can continue to pray and talk to our people for the spiritual edification and all of that. So if you are able to do all of this, providing water, providing roads, providing spiritual edification by building churches and encouraging our religious fathers and extending hands of fellowship to the Muslim and all of that, then you are also building healthcare facilities, and all of that. I mean, empowering men and women and encouraging them to go to farms and encouraging their businesses. This is what governance is all about.
Okay, Dr. Washington.
And for the same purpose of that,
yes,
all these we have mentioned, I challenge both of them to a debate, to go home. First, to go home and tell their people, charity, they say, begins at home. Let them go home and say, I'm from Emoimi, the other one is from your place. Okay, tell us what you have done for the Eastern people. I can't tell you without an iota or doubt.
Yeah.
Everybody, or 97% of your people, they know and they can attest to this mystic father. This man has done this. And the other man has done nothing. Then if you don't connect with your people, you have never connected with them. I want to repeat, it will be very risky to bring a stranger who never connected with us. He never suffered with us. He doesn't know what we feel, apart from the high-risers in Lagos, which makes them okay, and which they want to continue festering our hard-earned resources of a day now to build to line up their pockets and build further empires in Lagos, and call us the dark people who cannot do a job.
Okay, I'd like to get your reaction to this thinking that the candidate being presented by a party is more or less being presented as a stooge because of his background, then his shortcomings and all of that. How do you react to that?
First, what do you mean by a stooge? I need to know. What is your definition of a stooge? The reason why I'm asking this, you are a member of the first 30s of the realm, and you are everywhere. So when someone says something and you want me to react to it, first, let me not just dabble into it, because I don't even know, for the purpose of this discussion, who is a stooge and what is a stooge? Sonny, tell me. Now, let me tell you. If it takes a stooge to take care of his people, knowing where they suffer, and rather than sympathizing, he empathizes by deploying his hard-earned resources. Monday Okpebholo is not very rich. But what Monday Okpebholo is rich in is conscience. And that's why I tell you, a man who has conscience, and you identify your environment, what you will be seeking for, because you have good conscience, is to put men and materials together to deliver good governance. A man who has conscience we have little or no appetite for corruption. A man who has conscience will always ask yourself, at the end of this looting and lining your pockets, what will be the end? The end will be 6 feet. A man who has conscience knows that when you cross 40, is even going below as low as 30 now these days, that there are certain things you can't eat anymore. There are certain drinks you can't take. If you do it in the name of enjoyment, you are already writing your will and preparing to take your departure. That is a man who has conscience. A man who has conscience needs little. He doesn't need so much. And a man who has conscience knows that even if I need little and I don't need so much, then somebody must take the others, you know, and those persons who need the so much are the people of Edo State.
Dr. Washington, are you bothered by the feelings of quarters that your candidate is media shy in engaging conversations at this level?
You see, I think that is the soundbite of the opposition. But let me also tell you, this is where we don't miss it. And I want you to use the media to tell the people. According to Simon Joseph, he said, "Nami know my people," in quote, they go by. Now, when you say Nami, when you allow politicians to understudy you, and they give you fine words for food, and the fastest growing industry is the industry of scapegoating and blaming people, and trying to label people with names that are not theirs, then it becomes an issue. But what is fine is that when you see somebody put on dark colors and they open bright teeth and they are able to talk to you in Queen's English, that is what you think will deliver good governance, then you have not learned any lesson from the 8 years, this past 8 years. You haven't. It is not always true that those who talk too much, people like us, are the best for any job. It is not always true. At best, we have seen the difference. At best, we have seen the difference.
I'll tell myself, Dr. Washington, but just before I let you go, what's your final message to Edo people about the personality and the candidacy of Senator Monday Okpebholo, the APC governorship candidate?
When I was contesting when I was running to join my colleagues to make laws for Edo people, as a member of Edo State House of Assembly, you know, I borrowed this from the Constitution to make good laws for good governance under good conscience. The Constitution emphasizes good conscience. When we are selecting leaders, a leader with empathy, a leader is a leader that has good conscience. Therefore, above every other thing, go for good conscience, go for humility, go for somebody with good interpersonal relations. Don't go for that person that has a very high shoulder, who thinks he knows everything more than you, therefore he doesn't need anything from you. There is no one person who knows it all. Where governance, those in government fail is when they think that they are the ones who know it best and no other person can tell them anything. That was one of the things that led to the failure of the administration of Godwin Obaseki, which he too now he has identified somebody like him, he wants to pass it over to that person. Edo must not make this mistake. Comrade Sali Oshomole, I'm sure my leader is watching wherever he is now. I was one of those as member of his cabinet who told him when he was campaigning and telling Edo people that Godwin Obaseki, who was then his advisor on economic matters, was the one who helped him for Edo to achieve what Edo achieved in terms of road network, schools, and I said, look, comrade, this is risky. Don't go to market to sell this man. You know he doesn't have these credentials. Because you have said you want him to be governor, you are telling Edo people this. This is not good. Himself is my father. A son must be able to tell his father where he's saying those things that are not right. Okay. He said those things, Edo, we were convinced, and we have seen the difference. Okay. If a man was the one, if Governor Obaseki was the one who helped Commander Sali Oshomole to develop the way he developed, therefore, why did he not do it? Washington after 8 years now, I'm not jeopardized that it was Commander Sali Oshomole's interest, it was his intuition, it was his conscience, it was his courage that developed Edo. Godwin Obaseki had no input in the development of what he did.
Thank you very much, Dr. Washington Osasifor. Just to remind you that this is a sponsored interview on the platform of the APC Campaign Council in the build-up to the Edo State governorship election. Other political parties are most welcome to take advantage of opportunities like this to sell their candidates, the party's manifesto as far as the Edo State governorship election is concerned.